Please join me in welcoming General Martin Steele.
Thank you very much, Matt. On behalf of the President of the University of South Florida, Dr. Judy Genshaft, our Provost, Dr. Ralph Wilcox, and our Senior Vice President for Research and Innovation, Dr. Paul Sandberg, I want you all to know how honored I am to be here with you this evening for this very special reception for Kiersten Downs. I want to formally thank the leadership of the Student Veterans of America, its Executive Director, Mr. Michael Dakduke, and all of the staff. And I'd like to have a round of applause for all of the SVA leadership that's here today. I'd also like to formally thank Ryan Gallucci and the Veterans of Foreign Wars for what they've done for our country throughout its history to honor those who've selflessly served, many of whom have paid the supreme sacrifice, but through the VFW are never forgotten. Ryan, thank you for what you said tonight. Although Vice Admiral Williams was very powerful in his remarks, he understated the support that George Washington University has provided Kiersten Downs in this enterprise. This university, more than any other in the country, stepped up to provide financial support and support because of your proximity to SVA, but you need a special round of applause for what you've done here at GW. I could go on and on, but I am remiss if I don't recognize the leadership of South Florida. They were mentioned by Kiersten and others for having driven up here. All the people of SVA, please raise your hand. Raise your hand, man. This really is a celebration of one woman's Herculean efforts. She's a doctoral student in applied anthropology at the University of South Florida. 3 tours in a combat zone, an Air Force veteran. She has allowed me to read a research paper that she recently wrote this past semester in her, quote, Feminist Research Methods class. In her paper, which is titled, quote, From Student Veteran to Activist Scholar, Lessons Learned from a Community-Based Approach to Program Design, she has created a tour de force. It's 35 pages long. I've had the opportunity to read it so many times now, I feel that I'm joined at the hip with her philosophy of life in regards to what she believes about student veterans and what she believes the message needs to be in our great country. She has filled a gap that currently exists in the communication between student veterans and educators, and recognizes that now more than ever, the requirement to fill that gap by direct communications is necessary for them to be successful. She modeled it after the Green Zone program, which is at Virginia Commonwealth University. She is significant in that this research paper was the backdrop for her ability to create the document called Got Your Six, which most of you in this room know about, and which she talked about briefly about having people's backs. She's used reflective thinking as a tool to deconstruct power throughout her research process, to challenge all of us to more fully be conscious of the ideology, of the culture, and of the politics of those she studies, which are her fellow student veterans, and then pass that on to the leadership of faculty and staffs throughout the country. The remarkable nature of this peer-led, peer-designed, peer-developed, and peer-delivered tour de force called Got Your Six is that it's a community outreach program that ensures that our student veterans all across our country can outreach and interact not only on their campuses, but within their communities. And as she alluded to in her remarks, define for all of those who are not familiar that they are the next generation and the future leaders of the greatest country on earth. She gets it more than any young person that I've ever had the privilege to know. Truly remarkable in her gift. Some of the language here that I'd like to share with you, like her anecdotal stories about dogs. She describes, quote, subaltern counterpublics. Subaltern counterpublics. How you doing so far? Whose subordinate social groups formulate, discuss, and circulate oppositional interpretation of their identities, interests, and needs. And she insists that the time has come to start working with the listening effect to ensure that the actual populations of student veterans are heard throughout the country. Her moral courage, her self-discipline, her commitment and resolve are unparalleled in sending this message. She recognizes that there are certain population sectors that stereotype the military. And in her research paper, she made long-lasting comments regarding stereotyping student veterans can result in students feeling isolated in their environment. That the diversity is really about understanding what they do and what they bring to the table and what they communicate in their classroom environments and throughout their communities. That they don't want to be grouped in one lump sum as a monolithic population that suffers from post-traumatic stress or traumatic brain injuries. That they, like all members of our great society, are singularly unique and different and each bring something serious to the table. That the lessons that they've learned, that the lives they have lived, the experiences that they've had, separate them from traditional students in our colleges and universities. That it's time for our faculty and staff to listen more to what they have to offer and what they bring not only into the classroom, but what they bring for the socialization of America in this, after 13 years of fighting wars throughout the world. My view is that this bike ride across America has added one more significant notch to her belt, which she says the students who are veterans in our country bring more to the table than what they receive in the classroom. I'm reminded of my own life. I'm a non-traditional student of 40 years ago this time of year. Having been a former enlisted Marine, I went back as an active duty captain to the University of Arkansas. My mentor was the Dean of the Department of History, where I was a major. 1973 was Watergate. 1973 was Vietnam. 1973 was violence on campus. He was my mentor. We would stay up all night talking about the contributions of my peers in our war in Vietnam. He would have me speak to all of my classes about our contribution to our country. He said to me when I left and wrote in my fitness report of Headquarters Marine Corps, which I just recently reread, we learned more from Captain Steele than he learned from us. Well, I'm here to tell you today that all of us at the University of South Florida have learned more from Kiersten Downs than she has from us. Truly gifted and remarkable in what she's done. Her example is a model for all of us to emulate. She is a leader. She is a giver. She is totally committed. Today, I happen to have lunch with one of the brilliant Marine veterans that I've had the experience to know for several years. He holds a master's degree of international policy and practice from the Elliott School of International Affairs at this prestigious George Washington University. He specialized here in Asian security and Chinese foreign policy. I spent the first half of our luncheon conversation talking about Kiersten Downs. We spent the second half of the conversation about what he thought I should say tonight in my remarks to you. When I asked him what he thought, he said, very unwittingly, what Kiersten said. His words were, "Sir, tell the veteran students to reach out to the community and tell the faculty and staff to listen to the students. They both will learn beyond their wildest imagination." In my privilege to serve as the faculty advisor for the Student Veterans Association of the University of South Florida, to be around these magnificent young men and women who are going to make a substantial contribution to our society, like Admiral Williams, we remain committed to ensure that we do listen, because we clearly know that we are learning more from them than they are from us. God bless you, Kiersten Downs. God bless all of the student veterans of America, and God bless America. Thank you very much.